Hi guys, I'm in our garage and I thought I'd show you my grow room setup as I start getting ready for indoor gardening. We probably have about 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks of outdoor gardening left before it gets to be too cold. So I'm going to be moving my stuff indoors. So let me switch cameras so I can show you the setup, and I will continue to take videos throughout the year so you can see my progress. So this is all gonna be hydroponic gardening indoors, but let me show you what I have happening here. All right, so this is the third bay in our garage that I just enclosed. I mean, with help of other people. So I'm gonna have 2 tower gardens here, where I'm gonna be growing leafy greens and some broccoli robs. So that's going to be a recirculating hydroponics. And then I'm going to do aeroponics here with this Aeroflow 60. So let me see if I can adjust the camera. So yeah, so that's going to be a 60 site Aeroflow aeroponics. And on this side, I haven't made up my mind if I'm going to do flood and drain or the Dutch buckets. That's also another version of ebb and flow or flood and drain. So I haven't made up my mind. And over here I've got where I do cloning stuff. So I've taken some cuttings and I'm cloning them. And over here is where I'm gonna start the seeds. There's a heat mat. And over here is where I have lights for those little seedlings. So that's gonna be my setup. I have a lot of work to do. I need to sanitize this. I gotta close all the gaps because that was the lessons learned from last winter or last indoor growing season. I had gaps here, and so insects were coming in. So I had like an aphid infestation, and that was just taking up a lot of my time fighting those bugs. So so a lot of cleanup. I gotta fully sanitize this before I start my indoor operation here as we go into the cold season. So all right, let me walk outside and then I can show you what's happening outdoors. We've been doing some work with the deck, and so it's kind of messy here in the garage right now because we moved all the deck furniture in here. We're almost done with that project, so hopefully by the time I bring the plants in, all these this furniture and stuff will have been moved. But here's some tomatoes that I grew in pots. That's an heirloom tomato, so not a lot of fruit, but I'm happy with it. This one, I've been harvesting quite a bit of this for salads, so that's quite good. I'm quite happy with that tomato. This one also is a patio tomato, so that's been great. I actually took a cutting of this patio tomato so that I can start them. I can grow them indoors in my hydroponic garden. I like it because it doesn't get too tall, and they do have bigger fruit. So again, experimenting. Let's see what it does. But this one are just cherry tomatoes. They've been a good producer, so that's good. And that one over there is another tower garden. Let's see if I can move the camera. A tower garden that I have to move here because of the deck project. So it's been outdoors where I had strawberries, and my plan is to actually retire this tower garden for the winter, and I'll move the strawberry over to this setup here. So this one is actually a homemade aeroponic system that somebody made as an experiment, and he kind of got tired of it, so he gave it to me because I told him that I'm experimenting and hoping to share my knowledge with other people. So he gave it to me for free. I think it's really cool. It's a 40 plant site setup, so I'm really excited about it. But I am converting it from aeroponics to flood and drain, mainly because the tubes that he had inside were really hard to clean. So I thought I'm just gonna convert it into flood and drain versus aeroponics. So I plan to put this thing against that garage door over there in the winter. And because this one has like some bars, maybe I can just cover it with plastic, clear plastic. And then this is where I'm gonna be planting the strawberries. So I'll have 40 strawberry plants that's gonna be planted on this system that I got for free. Part of my experimentation, so I can share my knowledge with others. So let's keep going. Again, pardon the debris. Like I said, we've been doing construction, so there's a lot of stuff going on out here. But here's a hoop house that I had built with a friend, and I moved some of the hydroponic stuff that I had grown in the grow room early this year and moved them out here so I could save on electricity by not having grow lights. Here's lesson learned number 1. Viva Italia Roma tomatoes worked really well. Look at how fat and juicy those fruits are. I love them. I've been eating them. I've been putting them in dishes and salads, and I have some green ones here that are really fat and juicy. So Viva Italia Roma tomatoes, they seem to do well in hydroponics, deep water culture, Kratky style. There's no pumps, so that's good. The other lesson learned is that I did start some second generation seed heirloom tomatoes, and even with the same TLC as the Roma tomatoes, they're not doing that great. And I kind of like stopped fighting and trying to fix it because it's almost the end of the season anyway. But they were more work than needed. Here's another Viva Italia that seemed to be doing well. And by the way, this fruit that you see is like less than half of what they were 2 weeks ago. I had been harvesting them. So the second generation tomato, heirloom tomatoes that I grew, they were the ones that produced really weird fruit. Can you see how weird that is? So I felt like I was doing some weird stuff here. So not gonna do that next year because it's just too much work, and they didn't really produce that much. Over here is bitter melon. It didn't get enough sun, so it's not that healthy, not great looking. And again, because I was experimenting, I kind of feel like, okay, let's just let it go. And then the lessons learned that I'm just gonna fix it next year. But it did produce some little fruit, so I'm okay with that. And it was like an experiment. And over here is just Brussels sprouts. Again, an experiment, which seemed to be, I'm not sure if that's okay. It just doesn't look very healthy, so I kind of feel like I don't think I'm going to put the effort to growing Brussels sprouts hydroponically. I might change my mind, but it just seems to be a lot of trouble. Same with this pepper here. It has fruit, but very little. And dude, it's you only have like 3 weeks left in the growing season. If you're not producing that much fruit, I don't think this is the good environment for you. That's kind of like what I tell that plant. But this basil, I'm really happy with this basil. I have cut this so many times. I put them in salads and soups and stir fries, and it's still producing. So that I am going to keep. I'm going to bring it back indoors for the winter. So we're going to be best friends. This basil is going to keep producing for me. All right. I also decided, okay, let me take some of those buckets out of the hoop house and put them outdoors where they get more sun, and I'll put pumps to see what they will do. That one doesn't have a pump. This is also another basil. It's a little. I think that's gonna go into it. Seems healthy, but the ones that have pumps, these are eggplant. They seem to be doing great, but again, it's a little bit late in the season for them to produce much, unless I bring them indoors under lights. But here's this little baby patio eggplant. They're producing something, so I think that's good. these are just plants that I just started that I'm going to be growing indoors. So this is the cutting from the tomato that I was talking about earlier, and that's just some perilla. Um, I don't know if it's called an herb or just a green. That's a perilla. So that's going to be grown indoors. Okay. So that's where we are on the outdoor stuff that I kind of like threw in the hoop house. Lesson learned number 2, or is it 3? I can't remember. But another lesson learned. Fabric pots. They seem like a really great idea, but to be honest with you, they are a lot of work. So I had to come in here, water them almost every day, and even then, they're just not happy. I fertilized, I give them lots of water, lots of TLC, but they do have fruit, but not that great, not that big. For the zucchini, I did get quite a few that I've been cooking, but they don't look very healthy, so I don't think I'm gonna do fabric pots next year. So there we are. So this one actually, yeah, just a little bit of fruit there. Let me show you. All right. Okay. So moving right along, that's just a flower garden. And the rose bushes that I planted last year that I'm hoping to, I'm hoping that they would climb over this and make a canopy for these benches. So we'll see. Oh, and I got this cute little Rose of Sharon or gomamela from another lady who was growing them from cuttings. That's sawdust that you said, that's not pest. So like I said, we've been doing some construction. So let me show you the deck that's under construction. It's been a long process, but we're almost done. But anyway, so the thing that you saw there that's not pest, that's just sawdust. But yeah, Rose of Sharon, gomamela, I'm gonna be planting these. Look at this tomato here that's just kind of like going crazy. That is, these are seed. I planted them from seed, and I planted too much, so I thought, let's just put them in the ground. And now they kind of went crazy on me. I just let it go. I kind of feel like I'm not gonna fight this because I'm just gonna check and see what this tomato is gonna do. But it did go crazy on me. All right. Some artichokes here. I got a batch yesterday and cooked it. And that red thing over there is amaranth. I'm growing them for the seeds so I can use them for microgreens. And a couple of Brussels sprouts over here. They had been invaded by insects. So I don't even know if they're going to be edible. They're just I'm just gonna let growing them for the insects. So go for it, bugs, you can have them. And then there's kale. So over to the greenhouse where I had posted some videos of the Dutch bucket system. So here is the output of that Dutch bucket system. Remember when I started, there wasn't a lot of, it was actually basically just an empty pot. But this is now where they are. I've got okra that's producing, eggplant, tomatoes that are kind of climbing over the ceiling, and then there's bell pepper that I have been harvesting. So these are the tomatoes. These are definitely, so that branch over there broke, so that's okay. From the weight, but this is the Dutch bucket system that I had shown you before. But there's bell peppers, there's a ripe tomato here. So I plan to bring this indoors in that grow room setup. And they look really healthy. So definitely lesson learned here is that for this indeterminate tomatoes, I need to plan ahead and how I'm going to grow them and let them kind of like grow their vines, because right now it's kind of all over the place, and that's why that branch broke, because it didn't have any support. But this eggplant has a lot of flowers, so when it gets cold I don't want to waste it, so I'm just going to bring it indoors. And these are some sad end of the season ampalaya. I have harvested so much, and I kind of felt like, okay, time for you to go. You've done your job, thank you very much, but I'm not going to put any more effort to try to revive you, because we're done with the season. And even with this okra that just got too big, maybe I'll save the seeds. But compared to the ones grown hydroponically in terms of the tomatoes, here's the same tomato but grown in pots, dirt basically. Let me see if I can move the camera. Grown in dirt. So that's they're grown in dirt, not hydroponically. But even that, the bell peppers did produce. So even the tomatoes, they look good. And there's the okra that's getting ripe. So there you go. That's the update. So the rest of it is just the usual stuff that I've shown before. I'm gonna be doing a lot more different. Not a lot different, but maybe a different approach next year to maximize the use of the space. These are beets, and that's cucumber. I already pulled out all the sunflowers, some scented geraniums over here, and then more of the eggplant that I put in the ground. I'm just gonna have to waste them, because I don't think we'll have enough time left in the growing season for them to for the fruit to get bigger. And here is my cherry tomato hoop, basically. Those are cherry tomatoes. And then I have some strawberries here that I'm gonna put in that hydroponic setup that I showed you earlier. And the rest of it, real quickly, I'm gonna run over to the pumpkin patch before we run out of battery. My camera is telling me I'm low on battery. But, oh, by the way, that smoky thing that you see, that's from the fires in California, Oregon, and Washington. And although we're not that close from where the wildfires are, it had affected our air quality. So there's this haze of smoke that you see. So if you ever have any doubt about global warming and climate change, this should put that doubt to rest. Let's all do our part to be kind to Mother Earth. So here are the pumpkins that I grew. So I did have I ended up with quite a few pumpkins, which I've already, curing them. I'm curing them for storage. So that is the Kentucky Field. That one is Gerardelle. And that one is what's the Hubbard. This is a Hubbard squash. And then some more. There's another big one there, the Big Max pumpkins, which is similar to this pumpkin here. This one is misshapen because I didn't put any effort into trying to make it look perfect, but it's huge. It's probably like 50, 100 pounds, or maybe 75 pounds, and more small carving pumpkins there. But over here I've got a bunch of winter squash, butternut squash, and they keep really well for the winter. So over there. So with that, I shall sign off, and I hope that you find inspiration in my videos to really take up gardening and be self-sufficient, especially in times like these where to some extent it seems a little bit insecure. You don't know what's going to happen, but If we can just stick together and do our best, I think we'll be just fine.